by way of introduction, whilst I try to share my screen, my name is Paul Lasance. I've been at SAP for 25 years, and I have 38 years experience in manufacturing. Prior to joining SAP, I was a plant manager for an aerospace and defence company in the UK. And there we go, we should start sharing now. And the only passion I have for 25 years doing the same job is SAP manufacturing. And I help our customers gain an advantage using the SAP solutions all integrated together to drive not just the manufacturing operations, but also the entire supply chain. First elephant in the room, I guess, is not many people who are in manufacturing want SAP on their shop floor. So SAP Digital Manufacturing is not ERP on the shop floor. It's a completely built from scratch MES system, which is tightly integrated into the rest of the supporting business processes. And a quote I like from Elon Musk is that he, having gone into manufacturing, realizes that manufacturing is difficult, and the difficulty and value of manufacturing is underappreciated. And I also like the fact he said that it costs 10 times more to design the process to build a rocket than it does to make the rocket itself. So manufacturers have many challenges, which you're all going to be aware of. But the imperatives that my customers are looking at typically today is a business transformation, whether they're going to a later version of SAP's ERP system, or whether they're entering new markets or trying to support changing customer needs. The second challenge we have that we're all aware of is the supply chain resilience, and how the supply chain and inbound materials impact your ability to produce and your ability to ship your products out once they are produced. And finally, sustainability is becoming more of a hot topic as we want to be socially responsible, but also meeting the climate changes, and how does manufacturing support that as well? So resilient businesses need to have digital operations connected into the business and a fundamental part of their supply chain. And this allows them then to deliver agility, the ability to sense and respond to changes in your process. They want to drive productivity. They need to do more, but with less. So, you know, there's a capability gap, there's a labor shortages, there's a technology on the horizon that we can't quite get to that would increase productivity. Then we have connectivity. The last thing we want to do is build a monster that we have to feed. So we want to take the data wherever possible from their source itself, whether that be a machine, a person, third-party system, or SAP solution itself. And then drive our environmental and community impact. And one of the big changes I'm seeing with some of my customers right now is circular economies and repurposing products which would normally be end of life into new things. And a great example of this we're working with a customer at the moment is the remanufacturing of car battery cells into high capacity storage devices for solar, so that you can store your energy and use it at night. So agility is required to survive in an ever-changing world, and to have agility, you need to be responsive, immediately react and change to something that changes within your process. And that needs flexibility, the ability to do something different very quickly. We also need to be scalable, scaling up and down to demands or shortfalls in capacity, etc. And we need to drive collaboration, because to do the first three, you need to be able to collaborate not just internally within your business, but also with your wider supply chain and other actors within your manufacturing ecosystem. And finally, and one of my big topics is the ability to drive a continuous improvement process, because if we don't do anything better, we're standing still, then competitors are getting better than us, and we start to move backwards if we don't perpetually move forwards. So resilience in manufacturing, as I said, I used to be a plant manager, and there's always going to be something that's going to mess your day up. And we call this a disruption or an unexpected event. And this is exposing a vulnerability within our process, or our inability to adapt to that unexpected event. And this exposes risk, the impact of the event. So we take action, we love firefighting, so we go and take an action, and this is risk mitigation or a solution to that event that occurred. And the more we do this, and the better we get doing this, and the better we implement corrective actions, we become more resilient, the ability to predict and adapt to this ever-changing world. So how does SAP do this? Well, we first of all connect to the enterprise. We need to have manufacturing working in collaboration and coordination with the business, but manufacturing and the business don't really talk the same language. So how do we ensure that manufacturing can have the best solution whilst the business has the best solution for their activities as well? And as we become better at this, we can start to do things like anomaly detection. We know that this batch of components is going to come in 4 hours late. Can I move my shift around? Can I load another order in front of it to allow for that issue? And this sets us up into a sense and respond kind of attitude where the system can drive some of the decision making, and then we're using real-time best information to make the decisions rather than as an ex-plant manager using gut feel and intuition. So to do this, we need to have dynamic processes which aren't rigid and fixed. And when we launch an order on the shop floor, we're stuck. Now, in some businesses and some industries, the nature of the process means you can't change it. If you're making, I don't know, let's say oxygen, when you start making the oxygen, you just run the plant. You don't go and say, well, all of a sudden I'm going to make something else. That's all it does. So some of this has been highlighted in the nature of the process is the best way of saying it. But this is all to drive agility. And agility in manufacturing is the ability, as you've seen, to sense, respond, and adapt. The people who do this best are the people who can do this in real time. And the only way you can do this in real time is have your manufacturing and your enterprise connected together in real time. So everybody, whether you're in the shop floor, whether you're talking to your customers about a sales order that's going through manufacturing, whether you're talking to your supply chain, everybody's on exactly the same page. The second is productivity, the ability to build efficient process. Yes? Oh, sorry, I thought I was going to call my name then. Efficient processes. This is the ability to streamline your production and remove all the non-value adding activities. Automation and integration, taking the data from the process, driving the automation layer, driving the robots, the cobots, the AGVs, the machines, the equipment. All of this can be handled by SAP manufacturing. And by automating this, it increases your productivity again because you're not driving manual activities or non-value adding activities. And this drives continuous improvement, which allows you to proactively drive change in your manufacturing operations for the better. We also need to have an effective supply chain, the ability to understand where's the risk in our supply chain and how to handle issues with the supply chain dynamically, whether that's inbound or outbound. And finally, having a skilled and, more importantly, safe workforce. We all know there's issues with skill shortages, labour retention. So how do we make sure we've got the right people with the right skills in the right place at the right time? One of the ways we drive effectivity is a calculation or a KPI called overall equipment efficiency or effectiveness, depends how you call it. And that's a function of the availability of the process by the performance of the process, by the quality that the process is producing. And ideally, everybody's at 100%. Nobody's at 100% because there's always something that's going to mess your day up. But watching your OEE and the factors or the KPIs that drive the OEE calculation is how you monitor your manufacturing production process dynamically and make decisions when you see things are going wrong. So here's an example of a line monitor where we're monitoring various parts of a production line and we are then seeing what's the performance, and I can see that my fermentation work center is not performing very well and I should go and give it a kick to try and drive it. And when I click on this, I can drill down into further information that's showing me the downtime reason codes, what's the top losses, so I can make an informed decision about what I'm going to do with that resource. So am I going to offload the work? Am I going to temporary subcon it? Am I going to invest in some maintenance time or even replace the process? Well, whatever it is I need to do, I would have the right decision. And you can also drill down further into that to justify your decision or to justify the spend on your equipment. By using SAP Analytics Cloud, you can look at your manufacturing data and then make decisions based on this. Now, I created this. I'm not a coder. I'm not a techie. But you can drag and drop the data objects in manufacturing into your own visualizations and then filter them accordingly. So you can get to the root cause or the lowest level of detail using analytics. Then we need connectivity, and this is something, again, that SAP is not always known for, but we've been doing it for 25 years. So this is the ability to talk to the machines and equipment to make sure that we are getting whatever data we need in the appropriate time frame. So SAP does not want every 1 and 0 in your control system. That's the function of the SCADA layer or the data collection system or the PLC logic. We want anything that has a business context. And so machines gone down or machines running slow or we're out of material or whatever it is. These triggers then induce in SAP manufacturing a business outcome. So machine going offline, create a plant maintenance notification automatically, maybe reschedule the work, maybe ping an and-on alert, maybe do whatever it is you want to do. That's how SAP communicates with the outside world based on ones and zeros coming from what is essentially a black box. So here's my favourite toy, SAP. We're at Hanover Messe this year. If you want to come along and say hello, it's in Germany again. So this is our 50-ton press. We're running this from SAP Manufacturing. The FANUC controller was connected to SAP Manufacturing by a partner, but you can see it in action producing. I think we're going to be doing the cups again. But as you can see here, this is the user interface, which I really like. And as you can see, there is absolutely nothing there. And the reason being is we want this data to come from the machine itself. So we take the ones and zeros and we use something called SAP Production Connector that uses open protocols like OPC UA, MQTT, whatever it is you're running, and converts that protocol and that message into SAP Digital Manufacturing. Then as appropriate, SAP Digital Manufacturing will hand off that context or that message to whatever system within the SAP landscape needs to have that information. So as I said, plant goes down, Production Connector detects it, tells manufacturing, and manufacturing then tells PM, and PM will then trigger the maintenance to come along. But we can't exist in a SAP only landscape. And we're not saying rip everything out and put an SAP badge on it. If you've got systems which are doing a great job for you and you want to leave them in place, we have open connectivity using APIs in the system to allow you to easily connect to other systems and solutions within your manufacturing ecosystem. So it's not going to be an SAP shop. It can be an SAP as appropriate shop would be the way I would describe it. So we have the process context, we have the control context, we have the manufacturing context, and we have the business context. And because they're all handing information to each other dynamically, doesn't matter whether you're on the machine or whether you're in ERP, you get the same information. And this is what we call IT and OT convergence. And one of the complications in many businesses is the IT and the OT aren't the same organization typically, but the IT has information in an infrastructure that the OT need, and the OT has information that's useful for the business. So we bring these two together in digital manufacturing as the connector between the two landscapes. And the reason why we typically do this is if you look at the enterprise, then it has different requirements, different functions, and different timescales compared to manufacturing. And I'll explain that in a second. What we do typically with digital manufacturing is we create a model of the machine. So it could be an injection molding machine, 50-ton, these are its characteristics. And then we call those attributes. And we, against that model, then map those to the indicators. An indicator is a value that's dynamic inside the machine. Attributes are static, 50-ton injection molding machine, XYZ. Indicators are pressures, temperatures, feed rates, load, status, this kind of information. So once you've created your model, which is really easy to do, you just import the tags and then map the tags and say that this indicator, which has got a hideous name, it will be the address in the OPC server, .K201.6, means nothing to anybody other than the line engineers. It's pressure, and we give it a friendly name, and we unify the namespace so that you and the business can consume this information into your reports, into your analytics, into your dashboards, into your logic in the process using friendly names. So you don't need to know what the machine tags and IDs and the memory addresses and registers are. We will tell you it's this machine pressure, much more simple. And then we're driving the sustainability topic. And again, a lot of our customers are asking SAP, how do we take all of our sustainability information, not just about manufacturing or not just about whatever it is we do, but we want to contribute to what we call the green ledger. And SAP has loads of capability within its enterprise for handling the sustainability topic. Essentially in manufacturing, we look at either using the analysis of the losses to do it right first time and therefore use less materials and less resources. Because unfortunately in manufacturing, a lot of the topic is controlled by physics. If you're turning a component on a lathe, it essentially is very hard to influence the amount of energy that lathe consumes because it's down to the cutting forces and the efficiency of the machine in terms of power usage. Whereas if we make the right part first, right time, every time, then, we're optimizing our production and our throughput. And then also looking at ways of saying, minimizing changeovers and that way being more efficient in the energy consumption, or running the plant exactly when we need to, rather than having it all on standby for 4 hours while waiting for something to happen. So as I said, the enterprise needs to talk to manufacturing, and if we have the ERP systems and the other SAP systems running the enterprise layer, we then now come down into the plant or multiple plants, and digital manufacturing is suitable for running global organizations and operations. That's why it's designed as it is. So ERP hands over some of the responsibility to DM for manufacturing. So this will be like the execution of the orders or managing the plants, making sure we've got the people scheduled, etc. So ERP holds the master data for this, but we then take that master data, enhance it for manufacturing activities, and then transact against it, building up a bigger data layer than ERP cares about. So DM is really the go-to one-stop shop for manufacturing. And then when we come down into the lines and the equipment, digital manufacturing then is definitely wholly responsible for this, because ERP doesn't really have that much visibility of it. And when we get down into the physical control layer using production connector, this is wholly DM. SAP ERP has no visibility at this layer at all, and it's not really interested until we get a message or a context where we do need to tell enterprise something has happened. And again, that will go up through DM into ERP, and likewise ERP data will come down into DM, and it, if appropriate, even send control data or set point data down into the machines and equipment based on material order, BARM routing, whatever it is. So we can send real-time data to the machines and equipment as well. Good examples are things like torque tools, AGVs, robots, this kind of stuff. The other thing to remember is the machines and equipment layer is milliseconds, and digital manufacturing is into seconds, takt time, hours, shifts, days. ERP is days, weeks, months, years. So we have to unify and handle the differences in timeliness of data between the systems as well. Now, if you are in manufacturing, you will wholly know about ISA 95. I would imagine it's been around since 2000. SAP solution actually rolls over the layers of ISA 95. So we don't break our systems down into level 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are wholly in level 4 with ERP and some of the digital manufacturing activities. And then we're in level 3 for the execution piece, what's traditionally manufacturing operations management. But there are other solutions that support other activities at level 3, like plant maintenance, like warehouse management, etc. And then when we come down into levels 2, that's the data collection system and SCADA systems, then that is production connector talking to those. And we go into the level 1 and 0 in terms of logic and data, but not in physical hardware or software. So if you look at Industry 4.0, which has now been around since 2008, these 4 key pillars, these aren't SAPs, this is industry standard. The first one is interoperability, the ability to access the ones and zeros in the machine. And as I said, this doesn't mean a lot to the business unless you're a line engineer. So then we convert that 1 and 0 into a status, machine status. And this is information transparency, making the ones and zeros consumable. Now, if that status is 0, I've gone offline, maybe digital manufacturing looks at the fault code register. Is there a fault code? Yes. Is it a fatal error message? Yes. The machine's not going to restart itself. Therefore, we need to trigger a maintenance notification. We need to tell the line engineer to do an offload and put it onto an alternative resource. Maybe we need to advise the customer or the shipping that there's going to be delay in the output from the factory. So this is how we generate end-to-end outcomes using Industry 4.0. And finally, decentralized decision-making is SAP supporting the communication into the control systems and control layer so it can be more autonomous. And again, things like fleet managers for AGVs is a great example of this. And just as we're starting to get our head around Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0 is now on the horizon. So Industry 4.0 focused on the technology and the machines and the infrastructure, which enables Industry 5.0, which brings people back into the mix and back into the process. So that's fundamentally what it is. So that's very quickly my 1,000-mile-an-hour introduction into the strategy and the why SAP is in this place. You'll probably realize I can talk and breathe through my ears at the same time. I'll hold it there. I don't know, are we asking questions through the session, Robert, or are we just firing on?
We're going to have them at the end, Paul.
Okay.
Yeah. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, that's okay.
Cool. So we're over the hump of the why. So let's go and have a look at the interesting piece, which is the SAP digital manufacturing solution. So I like to put manufacturing at the center of the universe, unlike many of my colleagues at SAP, where it's the enterprise. But if manufacturing is at the center of the universe, everything on the periphery supports it. So, for example, digital manufacturing integrates into PLM systems. That is indirectly through SAP ERP, S4HANA, or even DM, just so you're aware, also connects to ECC. And if you upgrade ECC to S4 in the future, your shop floor won't even realize, because we just point the interface of DM to the new instance of ERP. But we integrate into PLM data. This is the bill, materials, material masters, maybe some other information like routings, 3D geometry, GDT information. That flows through into ERP. You then do your planning, you do your manufacturing engineering activities, you decide how you're going to make the product, and then you release the product. And at some point, there will be a customer order for that product, and that generates process orders or production orders. And digital manufacturing is now taking that data and is now responsible for that data in the manufacturing context. But then things are going to change. It could be production schedules change, the product definition changes, work instruction changes, the manufacturing method changes. So we have to handle change management from the business data into manufacturing data as well. And then obviously we run the manufacturing operations and the automation layer. And while we're going through and doing this, we're building up the genealogy, the as-built history, some call it the digital twin of the product or the process, to make sure that we are traceable and trackable. And SAP Digital Manufacturing is GXP compliant if you work in that environment. But we're also connected into other parts of the business like HR, human resources, or success factors as well, for the operator training records, availability and shift information. We're connected into finance, for financial planning for manufacturing, and also for cost of manufacturing. We are integrating the supply chain and planning activities, integrated tightly into the warehouse management for material replenishment requests, put away of orders, etc. Quality assurance for inspection, planning, sampling planning, inspection characteristics, and usage decisions based on the quality of the product, and into asset management for definition of the product and its structure, sorry, the process and its structure, and also statuses and maintenance activities. Now, this is great if you run all of these modules from SAP, but if you don't, then the little grey lines, which SAP delivers out of the box, pre-built integration, which is extendable and modifiable without breaking your system, you can connect it to third-party systems using the API framework. And if you don't have a third-party system and you don't have an SAP core system, then there are screens or user interfaces within digital manufacturing to handle that data directly as well. So you can either integrate it, import it, use DM directly, or get the benefit of using the SAP modules as the whole architecture is designed. So what does digital manufacturing essentially do? Well, first of all, it's the gateway to the world of manufacturing for the enterprise, and it's the access to the enterprise requirements and expectations for manufacturing. So we do dispatching and scheduling. It is not a scheduling tool. What we do is we take the planning, whether it's the MRP planning or if you're running PPDS or IBP, we take the planning you've come up with in digital manufacturing, in ERP, because this occurs before manufacturing starts. This is in advance. You might be planning it a day, a week, a month in advance. We do the real-time on the shop floor, right here, right now, dispatching and scheduling. So this machine's gone offline, I want to move it from A to B. That's the type of dispatching I'm talking of there. We do the labor management, making sure we've got enough skill coverage for the activities which are released, and it's be the activity of maybe the team leader to make sure that everybody knows what shift they're on, etc. We do the work in process management, so the handling of the execution of the orders, the movement of materials throughout the shop floor, consumption of materials, management of the machines, etc. The shop floor logistics, so there's two types of logistics. There's the logistics of inbound materials from warehouse, that's traditional warehouse management or traditional logistics, but we also have logistics on the shop floor. Just because we complete an activity or an operation at Op 10, we still have to move the material maybe to operation 20, whether that's an index of a line, whether that's an automatic robot, or whether it's a person with a pump truck. So we handle the movement logistics as well internally. We handle the quality management, and I'll come into that in more detail later. And we also have the insights and performance management. I've given you OEE as an example, but there are lots more that you can use. And finally, the really sexy bit that I really love is the industrial automation and talking to the machines and equipment and getting this data for free. And we do have customers who run SAP manufacturing with zero user interface. All the data comes from the process and the control system and the enterprise systems. And you can see in real time in SAP manufacturing exactly what's happening. And then you just manage the exception. So if there's a non-conformance on the product, then digital manufacturing will route it off to a repair and rework station where a human then intervenes, interacts. They then analyze the failure, correct the part, and if necessary, make an adjustment to the process. Now I'm going to flick through these. I assume we're distributing these slides afterwards. I'm fine for that to occur. So I'm not going to verbosely go through each of these because I'm going to demo each of these components in a second. So we have dispatch and monitoring, making sure everybody's got the right sequence of orders and operations. Scheduling and time tracking, making sure we've got the right people with the right skills at the right place. Labor management, making sure that we can track what the labor actually did and be efficient in the way we allocate our labor, making sure we haven't got too many people or labor shortages on a particular shift. We've got the user experience where the operator will come and look at their work queue and go and start to execute their production. Now, with this, I don't suggest you buy all your manufacturing operators a iPhone, but the design of the system, the configuration of the system, the creation of the user interfaces, and the creation of custom logic to talk to the machines and equipment is all low code, no code, drag and drop. So it's a truly from the ground up built system in the cloud using cloud technologies. It's fast to deploy. We stand it up in no time. A typical implementation to go live for a project is in the range of starting at about 12 weeks to stand the system up, connect it to a couple of machines and start running. And then you've got your full deployment and rollout and whatever else you want to do after that. So it's quick to deploy. Then we have process orchestration. And this is where you can get the system to react differently to support your process needs or your product needs or your production needs. And here I just about see it. There's a little flow diagram. So production connector will start this process. It will send it some information. It will run through its logic and come to an outcome. And again, this is, like I say, milliseconds to process. We have the inventory management, where we're going to go and find out where's our inventory, handling, as I said, the put away of orders and that kind of thing for semi-finished goods. And we've got quality management. So quality management is the ability to ensure that we're achieving the correct quality standard, but not massively increasing our quality costs, because quality, whilst it costs money, doesn't add anything to the product other than an assurance that you're not going to make bad products, therefore doing things like brand impact prevention, or you're looking at recalls and that kind of stuff. Having the right level of quality is important. And we have technologies like AI where this is actually machine learning technically, where we're using, I think this is Google TensorFlow, where it's looking at the image and determining that the label is malformed, and therefore it will reject this product with a high likelihood of confidence, high level of confidence. The likelihood is this product is bad. And you'll see here it auto logs an NC because it's got a 99.3% level of probability. It'll auto log an NC, send it off to rework. The operator can also override this if they have permission, or they can log additional non-conformances. And then the digital manufacturer will ensure that that product is correctly routed for rectification. The insights and performance management allow you to see your real-time analytics. This isn't what we did yesterday or what we did over the month. This is real-time information up to the second, where we can build dashboards using technologies like MQTT, which are fast and have low latency for information if it's appropriate. And we can also import third-party information because, as I said, we have the API framework and we can consume external services into the solution as well. And the industrial automation is the one where it's not just about automation of machines and equipment, it's about automation of processes and data. So maybe when the operator clicks the start button, we want to print a label, we want to send some data to the machine, we want to check that they're certified, we want to check that the materials are available, we want to check you got the right serial number, whatever it is you want to do, that's an automation task, and that uses production processes as a way to achieve that kind of custom function within the system that allows you to support your desired manufacturing activity. What's also important, because of the way the solution is designed, is you're not really coding, you're configuring. So if you change your mind or you want to change the process, it's not like the days of old with on-premise systems where you have to write some code and test the code and then push the code out and upgrade the systems. You literally, in a controlled manner, have the ability to push updates to whichever instance, whichever plant or instance of DM you want to. So there's a lot of control, all from the cloud, and a lot of capability that makes your life much easier and much simpler, as you would expect with a brand new MES system from SAP. So with all of that said, again, very quickly, you can play the video back in slow motion if you wish. I'll just drop into digital manufacturing. So single sign-on, I'm just in a regular browser. It takes me to my what we call landing page. So it's a Fiori type UI. And here I can see the tiles I've got switched on. And as you can see, I have a lot of tiles because I am in God mode. If I was a shop floor operator, I would essentially just go and click a URL on my desktop, and it would take me straight to, in this case, again, it's configurable, my work queue. And here I can see I've got a number of orders running through the shop floor that I need to work on. So if I go and pick this standard vehicle I'm working on, I can see it's at the rolling road station. I've got my order header information at the top. I've got my buttons across here, which do different functions. Again, all these buttons are configurable. We do have standard pods, but if you want to add a button that does something particular, or if you want to modify the start button, again, drag and drop is the way to go with this. Here I have my activity list. So these are the steps that need to be performed for this particular order. And I can see it's now queuing at the rolling road. And then I've got information. So if I come back a step to, let's say, the wheels fit, here I can see I've got some work instructions. So if I click on the work instruction, it will go and take me to the work instruction information. So here I've got a PDF image of fitting the wheels. We also support 3D models and 3D geometry. So here I can see I've got a 3D model of this vehicle. We can spin it around. I can interact with it. I can hide information. I can get lots of info. All of this is standard functionality. Everything I'm showing you is absolutely out of the box. We also have data collection. So in this case, I'm getting torque information from the torque tool. Here you can see I've had 7 data collections. If I click on it, it'll tell me the collections. And if I click on the collection, here I can see the information that's been recorded from the torque tool, typically through the torque server. I can also manually collect the data. So in this case, you wouldn't normally have this, but I have the ability to manually record or automatically record the torque values. I also have the components that need to be assembled at this step. So here I can see I've got to install 4 wheel nuts. Here I can see that I required 4, and there is none remaining, and they are all installed correctly. I can also go and remove it. Maybe I need to take the wheels off and I want to go and disassemble this component. Then I now need to refit 4 wheel nuts. So the system allows for disassembly, for repair or whatever it is, and also reassembly, and it will track the component consumptions. We can also load tooling. We have tool validation, skill certification, all these things you'd expect for an MES, the system has available. So that's what a shop floor operator would do. They would literally come into their work queue, they would select the next task, or the system can actually be set to auto-select the next task. They can click on the start button, that starts to register their labor. And you'll see I get an error message at the bottom that's telling me that I'm doing something wrong. This work center is not valid for the activity I'm trying to perform. So what I need to do is come back to my work queue. Now, most operators wouldn't do this because they wouldn't have permission, but I'm going to go and change my user to the inspection operator. So the system said, you're not qualified to do that task. So I'm now another essentially user, and I've come along, and now when I click on the start, they'll allow me to start charging my labor. Rolling road inspection 1, it's test. So the system, even when I'm screwing up, won't let me make a mistake. So it's pretty cool. So I need to go to test 1. Let's hope it's enabled. And I go to my rolling road and I click on the start button this time. And if everything is green, then it'll allow me to start. And there we go. I've finally successfully started it. Could be operators scanning barcodes. It could be the machine telling me itself it started. In that case, you just see the screen updating as the transactions move through. A few other things to quickly show you in DM. We have the scheduling labor activity. So it takes the skill certs and the calendar of each of the resources or production lines. So this would be a team leader, and it shows me my team, their scheduling. So I've got an evening shift, I've got a night shift, I've got a day shift. I can see that they're allocated to different work centers. And maybe today we've had Dan has phoned in and said, I'm not coming in today, I'm off sick. And maybe what I want to do is phone Vince and say, Vince, ever so sorry to phone you when you're asleep, but can you come in on the evening shift? Come in early because Dan's off. And as soon as I click save, that will now go and update the work queue for that person. It will update their shift planning, and I can even go and click on their here and send them the new shift plan from via email if you have the email information for your operators. I also want to go and have a look at my dispatch and monitoring. So this will pull all of the planned orders, the released orders and their scheduled dates and their tack times or start finish times as planned by ERP, and brings it across into digital manufacturing, so that I'm using the ERP planning as the starting point for my planning and scheduling. He says, it's normally instant. I don't know why it's. This is where you have to decide, should I be patient or should I click the refresh? I've got a tick on the work list data. What's really cool about a landscape such as digital manufacturing, because it is cloud and it's all object based and we uses really smart technology to run the system itself, is it self-heals. So if we do have an issue like this on an on-premise system, if I click, that's weird. If I click the tile again on an on-premise system, if it's broken, it stays broken until somebody restarts it. In a landscape like digital manufacturing, it self-heals. It detects there's been an issue, it will restart the services, correct the problem, and it stands a chance that the function will be available to you when you click the tile 5 seconds later, which is one of the benefits of a cloud landscape and cloud platform. There we go. It seems to be much quicker this time. It's self-healed by the looks of it. Come on, resource data. There we go. It doesn't normally take that long. It's demo effect. I wonder if it's because I've got my camera on. So here I can see my work centers that I'm responsible for. Here I can see the schedule or the plan that's come from ERP. So these orders here are in the schedule going through this work center. If I click here, I can see my resources and loading. And I can see this order here, for example, has got a green dashed line across the bottom because it's running through production. So that's actually in process right now. I can see that. I can also see my shifts, and I see here I've got 2 people on the day shift. I actually require 3, and same on the evening. If I right click on the day shift, a box will appear and it'll allow me to then go and allocate additional labor to this shift. So as a team leader, line manager, whatever your responsibility, this is what you would do day by day. Bob, can you come in on Thursday? So here I'm going to go and assign worker 6. The system has proposed them because they have the right skills to perform that task. And when I click OK and save, it will then go and tell me that there's now 3 people. Allocate worker 6. Click OK. I think I've got very slow internet. I think that's what's happening. Click OK. Okay. So I should have updated the 2 to a 3, but I'll work that out later. So the schedule is now built. The plan is now built. The operator knows what they're doing, and they're able to go off and running their manufacturing and production operations. The other thing that I wanted to quickly show you is a vision demo from SAP. So this is not available. It's not on the roadmap. It's what we're thinking for the future, because obviously everybody's going to know SAP is massively investing in AI. We're looking at what kind of use cases would make sense for AI. SAP has already connected AI to digital manufacturing in some scenarios. We're looking to expand that all the time. So another benefit you get from your investment in SAP is the fact that we are perpetually developing, extending and enhancing this solution. So you continue to gain more benefit from the roadmap SAP has. And I love the roadmap because it's massive and it's so cool. We've got some really smart stuff coming along, as well as being mature enough to run the manufacturing activities today. And sometimes you'll hear competitors saying, oh, digital manufacturing is an immature product, it's not been around very long. We started writing it in 2018, 2019. So it's been around, and we have well, I can't say how many customers, but we have plenty of customers who are running it live today. So if I could get this to work, give me a second. Oh, there we go. So I apologize that my German marketing colleagues have come up with a bit of a cheesy demo, but essentially Sai is the production supervisor. I don't think he is. He's well too dressed and got too much hair for being a production supervisor. He's not got enough stress in his life, but he is coming into work to look at his production process. Now, marketing in the meantime have gone and launched a marketing campaign with Max Racer, I apologize, for a soft steering wheel. I apologize again. And this marketing campaign has driven up the demand, and the demand is coming through in 3 or 4 weeks as per the marketing campaign. Now, Si's looking at his dashboard and it's going, oh, it's all great. You know, I've got enough capacity. I'm slightly short here. I'm slightly over here, but overall, everything is balancing out. But SAP Joule has said, I've seen that there's a surge in demand, and let's go and have a look. Open up Joule. Joule is saying that the production quantity will not cover the demand we're expecting. So I can ask Joule to go and analyze and give me some suggestions. And it says, due to a marketing campaign, you're going to be short of capacity and not be able to deliver on this expected demand. This is what we're expecting to see. So I go, oh, great, my life's going to get worse again. So what is it I can do? So I say, please help me find an improvement consideration. And it goes off and does that. And it says, this is your options. You can take an immediate action by improving some short-term activities. So I'll say, yeah, well, what are those? I imagine I'm going to put on some more shifts. And it's actually suggested that I change some of the parameters in the milling machine to increase the available capacity. And I go, okay, well, show me the impact of that. And using things like Signavio from SAP, we can analyze your process, look at bottlenecks, look at where the opportunities for improvements are. And it says, okay, if we change these parameters, we would expect to see an improvement by 16% in capacity and availability on that resource. And I go, hell yes, that's a free one. I'll take that one. This is what would you like to do next? I'll say, well, that's only going to fix it for the next week or so. So I want to do a long-term analysis. And it says, well, okay, but to do this, we need to do something else. So again, into Signavio, we do a view of the flow of the process, and it's identified that the milling machine is where my bottleneck is likely to be. And it says, I have 3 issue. So, right, Joule demo. How far into it did I get?
About halfway, you were on your solving your bottlenecks.
Okay, cool. Right. Okay. Well, essentially, because I'm looking at the time, I'm more than happy to run another Joule demo. The reason being is the couple of things I want to just point out. One is, if you want more information, you can go to sap.com/manufacturing. It's a lot of marketing information, but there is a lot of useful information there as well. Secondly, there are lots of videos of SAP manufacturing and the how-tos and what they do, and they're openly available. If you go to LinkedIn, do a search for digital manufacturing, you'll find it. Lots of people who are publishing. A great guy is Manuel da Costa, who works for SAP, who builds our demos for us. He's very proactive in showing you what's new content. And then under the digital manufacturing, sap.com/manufacturing, there are links to customer testimonials, videos, how-to guides. If you're already an SAP customer and have access to SAP Help, then help.sap.com/digital manufacturing, and all of the information you could ever want is there. And finally, if you are interested in things like integration, if you go to SAP, api.sap.com, that's our API hub, you can see all the APIs that are available for digital manufacturing, as well as all the other SAP solutions. So you get an idea of the level of integration capability from the system as well. And so with that said, to finish 50 seconds ahead of time, I will hand it back.
Thanks, Paul. That's great. Thanks very much for that. Yeah, it was
welcome.
good to see some of the new stuff coming through as well on the Joule demo things as well. That's very good. I think I'm quite wondering about the future though. Obviously, I'm just getting my head around 4.0, and then you mentioned on the call that digital manufacturing 5.0 is here already. And I've barely got my head around 4.0.
Yeah, and a lot of that's driven by, you know, many countries, including the UK, are struggling with availability of the suitable skills. You know, the UK seems to have been de-skilling itself in certain areas for a while. I was a speaker at a conference in Latvia in June, and for 12 years, they've been massively investing in engineering in their own country. The government have, making it part of the school curriculum and making engineering cool. And when I went to, you know, a school and college and university, engineering was like the forefront and everything was cool. And then we seem to have moved away. But I'm seeing a lot of growth in the manufacturing sector again now in the UK, which is exciting.
That's really good. Excellent. Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the insight. It's really good.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Paul. And just to mention as well, we've got an AI webinar coming up in January. So if anyone is interested, we can share the details of that after this webinar.
Excellent.
Cool.
Brilliant. All right, we'll have a quick refreshing break now, just for a few minutes. If everyone could come back in about 4 minutes' time, that'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. See you in a minute.
Right then, I think we're kick off. Everyone's had a chance to get refreshed and have a natural break and everything that goes with the breaks we have. So, yeah. So, thanks for that, Paul. That's fantastic this morning. Following on the hotly of your heels on that one, though, we're going to have our Phil Smith from Birchman Group then up next, who's going to be talking about Industry 4.0 in practice itself. So, Phil, floor is yours. I think you're on mute.
I'm on mute, yeah.
There you go. There you go. You're off mute now.
Got all the cliches in today. Oh, somebody talking on mute, somebody dropping out, demo freezing. It's we're getting them all in.
Let's see which ones you can fit in, Phil.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, nice to speak to everybody today. One, I'm going to talk about Industry 4.0. And obviously Paul very well alluded to it there and talked about some of the topics that are related to Industry 4.0 and some of the challenges. And we'll have a little bit of a deeper dive into that. We'll cover off some of those real world examples and experiences that Birchman have had actually implementing some of these technologies. So when we're saying internet industry 4.0, what we mean is it's the fourth industrial revolution. So the first one being mechanization in the 18th century, electrification in the 19th century, and then automation in the late 20th century, including digital computers and automated production, which was when I was researching this, was quite a shocker to me, because the late 20th century, it means like 1992. So which was like 2 weeks ago, right? It wasn't very long ago, but this is the fourth industrial revolution, with key topics such as the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, and cloud computing. And obviously anybody that remember the days of when you had to come off the internet when your mum wanted to use the phone would agree that it is a total change. You know, we had computers then, but they're not like they are now. And everybody walks around with more processing power in their pocket than, you know, launch rockets in the old days. So obviously SAP is a global leader in enterprise software, and is at the heart of Industry 4.0. It's got a bunch of comprehensive solutions. So, but Birchman helps businesses transition into this new era, and SAP offers their technology, including SAP Leonardo, S4 HANA, and the digital manufacturing cloud that Paul's just demonstrated there, which is a very cool tool. But Birchman also offers the expertise and the experience to enable organizations to leverage Industry 4.0 and get the most out of it and reach the full potential. And hopefully that's going to be borne out by experience. And it's good to be working on the bleeding edge technology. And it's, you know, a lot of the times it's 2024. It's what you expect, right? We should be all trying to be at the forefront of technology. Nobody's walking around with a Nokia 3210 in their pocket. I wouldn't have thought. Everybody's got a brand new smartphone, an iPhone, the telly connects digital. Everyone's watching Netflix. That's cloud based. You know, nobody's putting in videos anymore. I'll be surprised. So that's really we expect it in our home lives, and I think this is all about bringing that into our work lives, into our factories, into our businesses, which are able to move forward with the times. So let's talk about those three platforms. So we've got SAP Leonardo, which is an integrated system of technologies that it drives digital innovation. It includes the IoT connectivity, AI connectivity, machine learning, blockchain, advanced analytics. And it's a tool we can use to develop intelligent systems and boost efficiency, and obviously thereby cut costs and improve product quality. And obviously, sorry, just typical. Now the dog started barking. So if you can hear that in the background, I do apologize. Let's take that off on the cliche bingo.
You're good, Phil.
Okay. So obviously one of the things we can do with it is monitor equipment health. We can connect to our machines. We can connect to our PLCs, our programmable logic controllers. That even some of the older machines that factories are using still have these programmable logic, these PLCs and programmable logic controllers that give us a signal. And it's just the way that we can connect through Leonardo to interpret that signal for things like usage, downtime, uptime, running time, and those kind of things that those sensors can give us. You know, how many times machines been lifted on and off, or how many times how many miles a conveyor belt's traveled. And we can use those things to inform us of usage and productivity, and we can use it to inform of when we need to do maintenance and those kind of things, which is it's quite a simple concept. It's just difficult, like the Elon Musk quote, it's just slightly more difficult to do. And Leonardo gives us the ability to connect to pretty much anything. And obviously one of the things when people talk about cloud, when they compare it to the old ECC system, is people say, well, you can't customize it, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and it's kind of it's sort of true and not true, because we can add technology, we can, but we do it in Leonardo, which leads on to the next point, which is the ERP, which gives us the clean core, and that's where I don't want to steal Colin's got a good phrase about adapting rather than adopting rather than adapting, which I like, and it's about keep the core clean. We can connect to anything, but we use the external technologies. And obviously the clean core, it supports the transformation into Industry 4.0. It's an intelligent ERP system, and it's obviously real-time with real-time data processing, real-time analytics, which drives faster decision-making, more accurate decision-making, and that allows us to become more agile, more responsive, to those interruptions, to those things that stop supply, the things that makes production supervisors go bald and things like that. Everything we can see in real time, react to it in real time, and make the right decisions. So if everyone's got complex supply chains, and obviously the real-time insights allow us to monitor inventory levels, reduce stock holding, get rid of dead stock, more accurate production schedules, and forecast demand better. And then we'll have the digital cloud, SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud, which Paul's just showed us a real good deep dive on there. And it optimizes manufacturing operations, helps us integrate to production processes, connect with the business operations, connect to the system, connect to the actual equipment. And it's cloud-based, gives end-to-end visibility and control. It's anything that we need to change in there. It's drag and drop. There's a lot of low code, no code, and that low code, no code seems to be quite a good catchphrase that SAP are using a lot. And it's really, it is what it says on the tin. It's low code, no code. So even people like me who are from an engineering background and a practical background can quite quickly start doing what in the old days would be in the domain of the guys who did coding, and then that allows them to go on with even more advanced stuff. So if we've got intricate production lines and things like that, DMC is really the tool, and it obviously, as we saw there, it can detect. We can use integrated technology to detect errors, detect quality issues. We can connect to visual standards and use those kind of. I guess Charlotte, the other Charlotte, who's the AI genius, would tell me maybe it's not. Maybe it's an if and else statement. It's not true AI. But it's pretty clever to me that it can detect defects on the line as the line's running. That's pretty clever stuff to me, and therefore reduce waste and make us more green, because we're not wasting as much, we're not holding as much inventory, we don't have as much dead stock, and that makes us more efficient and more cost effective. So some real world use cases that we've worked on as Birchman is we've used, as we mentioned, we can use IoT, we can use machine sensors to give us indications of when we might need to do predictive maintenance, because we know when a machine's run, when a machine's stopped. Obviously, we saw it connected to those Fanuc CNCs. That those need quite a lot of maintaining. So CNCs, milling machines, high-tech equipment like that needs a lot of maintenance to run effectively. So using connectivity with IoT sensors and SAP Leonardo, we can continually monitor the equipment health. We can monitor all the readings on temperature, speed, the mileage on the turn-ins and things in the bearings, and then predict. We'll then get SAP and Leonardo to tell us, this machine has run for so many hours, you need to go and maintain, you need to go and change the oil because it's run for so long. It tells us that, and nobody needs to, once we've given it the rules, it can then warn us of it, and we can work, connect that through a workflow. You get a ping in your pocket, maintenance manager, ping in your pocket, somebody needs to go and check this machine because it's run for so many hours. Or if you're a production manager, it hasn't run for so many hours, maybe we're worried. And then for In S/4HANA, we can transform supply chain management. So we get, because it's real time, because everything's real data, it's not like a weekly MRP, it's MRP live. It allows us to better plan our supply chains and do better supply chain management. And the real-time insights are into inventory levels, demand forecasts, supply chain efficiency, and that lets us reduce the waste and give an enhanced customer satisfaction, because SAP will tell us we have an issue here, we're going to have an issue in 3 weeks, you know, and the more we interact with it, the more it gives us. For the production line optimization, if we've got complex production processes, then SAP Digital Manufacturing Cloud gives us real-time visibility into the production lines. It tells us real-time what the workers are doing, confirmations, things like that, and it enables us to identify bottlenecks. And as we saw there with the Joule add-on that Paul showed us, it can then identify solutions, which is pretty amazing, really, which again, it'll improve product quality and reduce production costs, reduce downtime. And then another thing we've worked on recently is we integrated with a third-party software that controls a packing robot. So as the products are coming off the line, they run up to 5 lines at a time, and the packing robot stacks, wraps, and labels the products at the end of the line. It's a big yellow robot. It's almost like, it's not black box, but it's pretty much a standalone product machine. And the machine was already in place when the company decided to take on S4 cloud. They went with public cloud, and we using the connectivity and the cloud connectivity and the APIs, we could only receive a single piece of information, a single packet of information, because it was all the existing hardware and software was able to provide us. But using that signal, we can confirm the production yield, which then backflushes the components that we used. It also creates the batch information. It also creates the handling unit, because they're using extended warehouse management, because they've got quite a complex supply chain, and also pass back to the system the SSCC number, so the serial shipping container code, which is like an ID for a pallet that's unique to that pallet worldwide. And that pallet number goes back nearly instantaneously to allow the label to be printed by the machine and applied. So all within a fraction of a second, using the cloud connectivity, we confirm production order, we create the pallet, we create the handling unit, we put it into stock, we create the label, we create the shipping label from an SSCC, which they're pre-generated, but they're unique. And then the machine wraps and labels the pallet, which is only available through cloud connectivity, and it's only because it's working so quickly that it's able to do it. And that's working with an existing piece of software that's been in place. I mean, originally when we went to do the original connection, it was working on I think it was like Windows 7 or something. No, earlier, older than that, like Windows 5 or something. Do you know what I mean? It was like existing hardware and software, but we were able to connect with it and make SAP understand this signal and what it meant, which was really quite good. So Industry 4.0 gives us enhanced decision-making. So because we've got real-time processing, real-time data processing, advanced insights into the operations. This gives us the ability to make better, more informed decisions. Like, for example, predictive analytics can give us a forecast for maintenance, reduce unexpected downtimes. It can tell us what stock our customers are going to want before the customer knows, maybe. We can also analyze market trends, see when things are on the up or going down. It can enable us respond quickly to change and obviously capitalize on new opportunities if they become available. The increased efficiency is fairly obvious because we no longer have shop floor workers telling SAP what it's doing. You know, we don't need to tell and confirm to SAP what work has been completed, because the machine when we get that signal from that PLC saying, I've made one, I've done a thing, it sends a signal to SAP, and SAP can interpret that signal and then update the ERP system. So really, we do away with the fact with the requirement for shop floor workers to really interact with an IT system, which is what we want, really, because we want to make a product, not telling SAP that they've made a product, if we can, and where that's possible. And obviously through that, we get increased customer satisfaction because we're able to make things quicker, faster, tighter timelines. And if we reduce our supply chain and reduce our dead inventory, then we can then reduce our costs or increase our profit, whichever way we need to go. And all this gives us sustainability and environmental benefits because, less wastage, less downtime, better use of machines, all works for us good. So obviously there's some challenges and considerations. So as we mentioned previously, obviously data and security and privacy and things are really important to everybody at the minute, and it's a hot topic, and that's something that comes naturally with greater connectivity. And it's a fact of life, basically, that we, how many phishing attacks do you see, even in your own personal life? I must get endless emails telling me what I've won, and I just have to click on a link and enter my bank details. But obviously we have to be aware of those things, and as businesses we need to be aware of those things because it is a bigger threat now that we've become more connected, and that's just a fact of life. In my opinion, there's nothing we can do to get away from that other than user training and make sure people are on the ball with it. And then the other thing is workforce adaptation. So one of the bane of my life in manufacturing is the phrase, "We've always done it like that." And the other one I hate is, "It's not my job." But we've always done it like that, because if you create a new system in the mirror image of your last system, and your last system was created in the mirror image of the system before, then really what we're recreating is a typewriter in a computer, and we're still doing punch cards and clock cards and things, and that's not really where we are now, is it? So the adoption by workers and the incentive for people to adapt and move on and become invested in the latest technologies and things like that is really important. And I guess that's something that we offer training, support, upskill people, and get people from, let's say, creating data. So entering, yes, I've done a thing, yes, I've done a thing, yes, I've done a thing, to instead analyzing data. So they're looking at what's being done, analyzing what the problems were, dealing with the underlying issues rather than just reporting them, rather than just churning the machine. They go to a more analytic and intelligence-based role where they're able to spend more time looking at the information than generating it. So we mentioned the future roadmap of Industry 4.0, and obviously Paul said Industry 5.0, so we maybe have to catch up with that one later on. But some of the future roadmaps, some of the things that make Industry 4.0 possible, and the things that will become taken advantage of more and more as a future, is obviously integration of 5G technology. Everything's got 5G in it now. If you get in the car, it knows where you are. Nobody gets a map book out anymore. It's everything's on maps and apps and connectivity like that. And I guess we expect to be able to connect. So we expect connectivity in our lives. So if who goes anywhere, that if you go anywhere and there's no phone signal, I don't know about you, but I moan about it. Connectivity to be there. And then obviously we've got edge computing. So that's where we process data closer to where we need it. And in S4HANA, that's what we call it's so that's where S4HANA can remember the things that you've been looking at recently, and it starts to learn what you're interested in. So when we look at, let's say, production orders, we don't want the first production order because that was 5 years ago. We want the latest production order, and that's closer to the front in the table, so that it allows us quicker access to it, so we find what we're looking for quicker. It's kind of, how when you start typing in, for those of you that SAP users start typing in SAP, it predicts what you're going to type because it knows what you typed recently, so it knows what you might be looking for. It can suggest those things. It's a bit like your predictive text, really. And then advanced AI is obviously a big topic and a big it's the buzzword at the moment, AI. And if you talk to our other Charlotte, she does quite So we should give us quite a good talk on debunking what's real AI and what's and if or statements and what's what's those kind of things. But SAP is using AI, it's using machine learning, and it'll continue to advance. It'll give us things like predictive maintenance, quality control, supply chain optimization, and S4 can already use these things. And the more we use them, the better it'll get. It's, AI, it's in machine learning. It's got to learn. Then we mentioned digital twins, which is where we would have a virtual replica of a physical asset or process, and then it allows for simulation, monitoring in a virtual environment before we say, yeah, that's what we want to do. So, for example, if we had another line, what would it give us? Would we use it? Would we not use it? We can create a digital twin and analyze what the results are going to be if we bought that extra machine, or if we didn't, if we closed the line off, those kind of things. And we can see and simulate what that would be like. If we put another shift on, we can simulate with a digital twin before we then decide what actions we do want to take and then move that into the real world. And those are like models that simulate production scenarios, optimize our processes, and predict the maintenance needs. And obviously, ideally, reduce downtime because we know what's going to happen before we do it. And then throughout everything, and again, it's another key factor, is sustainability and green manufacturing. So increased emphasis on sustainability, reduced environmental impact, efficient use of what we do have, and reducing waste. So using our resources properly, reuse, reduce, recycle, and all that, and then minimize our carbon footprint. And obviously, SAP sustainability is inbuilt. The environmental health and safety is also inbuilt, and companies can track and manage it. And they've got tools within SAP to optimize those kind of things. And by becoming more efficient, naturally, we become more green. So the future of Industry 4.0 is bright and promising, and I think we're gonna see continued advancements in technology. It's going to transform manufacturing further and further. More key, and I think SAP and Birchman, we want to be at the forefront of the revolution, and obviously by joining this call, I'm sure all you guys do too. That's why you're here, because you're interested in what's next. With cutting edge solutions, and enable businesses to leverage, enable you guys to leverage those technologies, integrating 5G, using edge computing, using advanced AI, machine learning, digital twins, sustainability initiatives. Birchman and S4 are already helping other manufacturers achieve greater efficiency, agility, sustainability in what they're doing. And obviously embracing these will be key to being competitive, meeting evolving demands and the global market. So Industry 4.0 is revolutionizing the industrial landscape, integrating advanced technologies, creating smart connected factories. And like we said, smart connected factories, smart connected people. And while it presents challenges, the benefits of increased efficiency and faster decision, more accurate, better decision making, improved customer satisfaction, you just can't argue with it. And by embracing continuous innovation, then I think that's the way to paving the way for a brighter, future, allowing us to keep at the front. Thanks very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm here all week. Tip your waiters. Yeah.
Bill, there was actually a question from Aidan about blockchain being part of 4.0. Where do you see blockchain fitting into it?
So I guess that's more. It's something we can use. So obviously it allows us to store and pass data in a controlled way. It means that we can verify and things like that. And I guess that's something we can. I guess it's something that I guess the question, I'm not really sure the question. It's something we can, we could leverage if we needed to for, let's say we wanted to create something to do that we needed to verify. We could use that to connect with SAP and use the to make sure that our data is truthful and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's probably a bit of a weird one for manufacturing, but
I think it's just more question was more around is it part of Industry 4.0, which I think it has a part to play, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a part to play,
Yeah.
yeah. And what that part is, I guess, is up to us individually. And if you've got a scenario where you think actually we could use blockchain for this, then let's talk about it.
Some thanks for that, Phil. I guess, are there any questions for Phil at this stage, or Paul actually from his presentation earlier? Anyone's got any questions I want to ask out now? Got a couple of minutes, or put them in the chat, whatever you prefer. Either's fine. Or you can save until the end. It's not a problem. Got a few minutes at the end here, which we've saved for Q&A, so that's good. If there's nothing further for now, then I'm going to obviously have a bit of a fireside chat now with Colin from Alfrecell. As I mentioned earlier, just to understand a bit more about his usage of SAP and how he's doing it in his business. So welcome, Colin, to the call. And thanks for being here today as well. It's good to have you here. As I say, Colin's the CEO of Alfrecell, one of our clients in Birchman, who recently went through an implementation of S/4HANA Public Cloud. So good to have you here, Colin. Thanks for being here today. And I just want to ask you a couple of questions about your setup there. So I guess, yeah, please obviously just tell us a bit more about Alfrecell and obviously tell us a bit about what you manufacture as well, please, if that's okay.
I don't know what anybody else is seeing, but I've got a picture of a log fire up on the screen.
Fireside chat.
Yeah. So first of all, good morning to everybody. We're a foam manufacturer. So there's the pieces of foam. The key word, I guess, being manufacturing. We're just north of Derby at Alfreton. We've been here for 60 years and we've manufactured a long block foam, 60 meters long, continuous manufacturing process with some quite heavy duty chemicals involved. So we get the full breadth of the health and safety demands as well as the quality of the product. And then we actually convert the foam into a whole range of products for the bed industry, for the furniture industry, for leisure industries. It's surprising, once you think about foam, we're all sitting on it probably as we speak, unless you're on a wooden bench. So we're a straightforward manufacturing company with all the challenges that everybody else would face on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome, thanks, Colin. So in Alfrecell then, for the manufacturing processes and the foam that you make and things, what sort of makes Alfrecell strong as a business or unique in your manufacturing space? How do you stay competitive in this world, I guess?
I guess, first of all, if you looked globally, foam is made in a very similar way across the whole world. If you compared production lines in China or Europe or America, we're pretty much the same. There might be an age difference on the quality of the technology that controls the foam machinery, but the speed is pretty much the same. And the quality levels are where it starts to vary depending on your staff control as well as some of your system controls. Then I guess for us, it's experience. It's people who know what they're doing each day, where our average length of service is probably 14 years. And we've got many people who've been here between 30 and 40 years plus service. So being able to keep and look after the staff who have that day-to-day knowledge is probably where we differentiate ourselves. There's probably only 4 people in the UK producing long block foam, turning the chemicals into the foam itself. And 2 of them are very big. We're number 3, slightly smaller. And then there's another guy similar size to us. So the demands that we have is how do we be competitive against 2 big guys? Again, not an uncommon thing. Everybody's got competitor pressures that they have to be working out how to deal with. So to answer your question, in the end, it's our people that will make the difference initially.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. Yeah, I mean, I think your tenure of what you said, 14, 15 years, some of your people is amazing. Yeah, because I think that the tenure in my industry, in the tech industry, I think it's around about 18 months for a lot of people. So having people in the business that long is obviously, it must show something about your business. and how you care for your staff and things like that. So you must have some good perks in Alfrecell for that reason. But no, good. Thank you for that. And I guess obviously, you've obviously recently gone through an implementation of S/4HANA Public Cloud. That's been it went live in 2024. But what was sort of the issues and sort of like inefficiencies you had in your business, or any sort of problems that you faced before you actually chose to go down the road implementing SAP in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for people listening today, my story is about how we've changed from being a part in June 2023. We were sold, and prior to that, we're part of a global foam company that had many sites around Europe and the world. We had 5,000 users on a SAP ECC platform across the whole world. And we, up at Alfreton, we were just 60, 70 users on that platform, and we were sold off, and we've become a standalone private company. And part of the deal, we were given a maximum of 12 months where all of our IT infrastructure was going to be supported, we thought, for the 12-month period, and then the plug was going to be pulled. So we'd got to be totally independent on every bit of IT that we had. When we first looked at SAP, me not necessarily being an IT expert and being a bit naive, I thought we've got enough change going on in the business. The best thing for us to do would be to do like for like. So we went off on a small journey trying to work out how we could just move our data across into a comparable system and have least change and least effect on our company, which in turn would have the least effect on our customers. After about 3 or 4 months, I realized that really wasn't going to be possible, mainly driven by the cost, and the implementation criteria for it was just too difficult for us. And then we got introduced by SAP to S/4HANA and also to the Birchman Group. And all of a sudden, we saw there was a much easier, simpler option for us to try and engage with. And that's when our journey started to say, we can't be like we were, we've got to be different. The platform for us to go forward appears to be the SAP S/4HANA, therefore we should go with it.
Excellent. That's great. It's good to hear you chose SAP as well. Thanks for that.
And Birchman.
And Birchman, of course. Yeah. So yeah, so I guess obviously you had a choice of like a couple of different options, a couple of different systems as well. So you obviously went down the SAP and Birchman route, Colin, out front. But what was specifically when you found out about this new solution, the new version of SAP, which obviously what we call public cloud, what attracted you about that particular option for your business over and above what you were looking at before for yourselves?
I mean, the biggest factor we'd got was that we were trying to, as a new company, support all our current customers and make sure that the business ran well. So first of all, whatever change we did, we'd got to have like zero impact to the customer more than anything else. And then the first thing that really jumped out at me from SAP was when they described it as being out of a box, they also said, look, there's a standard implementation plan. This plan has been proven around the world. SAP have fine-tuned it on many occasions. And by the way, Colin, here are the number of days your team would have to put in. Here are the number of days the Birchman team would put in. Here is the route. It's already planned out. There was a roadmap. And I've referred to that a couple of times, a bit like a taxi drive. Do you actually jump in a cab? The first thing the guy does is click the meter on, so you haven't got a clue why he's put that much money on you, and then you feel he's driving you around the long way just to get the most out the journey. I felt it was the opposite with S/4HANA. I was more or less getting like an Uber journey where this is the time he'll arrive, this is the distance that it'll travel, this is the route it'll take, and by the way, here's your fixed price for the journey. Plus it's being monitored, plus it's safe. So in a very simplistic way, I saw SAP S/4HANA being like that for me. So as a guy who's got to make a decision who doesn't really understand the computer and the high-tech world, but is charged with the decision, being able to see a standard plan and saying to myself, we'll go with that. And then I said to, I think I probably to the team at Birchman, I said, can you tell me what the risks are? Can you tell me where we're going to get it wrong? Can you tell me where I'll have problems? And the risks came back quite clearly that it would be making sure our people had enough time to follow the plan. Birchman would make sure their resourced up enough, which you did. It was a fantastic effort to actually put people in place in the time frame we'd got. And I was told, if you turn up to all the meetings, you do as you're told, Colin, and all your team get on with what they're supposed to be doing towards the implementation, then you've got a very good chance of a successful plan. Bear in mind, our implementation was to go from a full running ECC to a brand new, fresh SAP S/4HANA public cloud in 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
From the time that we started and engaged with you guys. Obviously, there was a little bit beforehand to do the quotation, but when the project team kicked off for us having to go live instead of the ECC, we'd got 5 months.
Did you, at the time, did you believe it could be done in 5 months? When you heard that?
Probably, because I didn't know any different, and I hadn't spoken to anybody else other than yourselves. I'd got a lot of confidence. I think when somebody says to you, these are the resources, February, March, April, May, and June that you're going to need, and this is what you've got to put in, then there's a level of confidence. I mean, a bit like your other guys, I'm a manufacturing guy. And if there's a plan, I'm chuffed to bits. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to be too adventurous. And to be fair, the computer system wasn't the priority. It was a function we had to do. The priority was to make the business, for us to deliver every day to the customer, to make sure that our customer service was excellent. That was the priority. But by the way, we've got to change computers whilst doing it.
Excellent. Thanks, Colin. I'm definitely going to remember your analogy there around the taxi cab. I'm trying to explain to my next client prospect around the difference between ECC on-premise and their cloud solution. I'm going to use the taxi scenario there, definitely from an Uber and a black cab, because I think it's a good way of describing it for sure. Or helping someone understand the difference between the two is definitely, yeah. So I don't know where you came up with that one from, but it's a good one.
I've only started recently using Uber, so my IT skills aren't top of the tree, but it's appealing, and that's honestly how I thought the S/4HANA option was for us. And to be fair, to put another phrase on it, it did exactly what you said on the tin. We've been able to follow the plan. We implemented. Our group company pulled the plug on all the IT leads on the 14th of June. In the end of May, we were up and running on the new SAP. So we had a 2-week buffer window, but the whole plan was geared to that and worked well towards it. It really has been, and fundamentally, I guess Phil mentioned it. The thing that stuck out for me was we would adopt the S/4HANA out the box. So we would become as close to the box as we could because we got a fresh start, even though we got a lot of people with many years of ECC SAP experience and usage. And we weren't going to adapt till after we'd adopted. So we would use the standard package, use the standard plan, get it up and running, and then Once that's been achieved and we've got success and we're still supplying every customer on time, we could then adapt at a later date, and all the tiles that Paul showed earlier, the potential for us going forward is fantastic. We've still got to work out what the priorities are for a phase 2, where we start to change the business and get full benefit out of the SAP S/4HANA. But we've met all our business goals in our changeover plan, which was the most important thing.
Excellent. That's really good. No, thanks, Sam. So you're talking about the sort of the fit to standard approach there, then, Colin. Obviously, you're adopting cloud in the business. Fit to standard and adopting the fit to standard can be quite difficult for some organizations to understand, especially the ones who have been through traditional on-premise ECC systems with SAP or whichever the ERP vendor they've looked at in the past. When you're going through that fit to standard and adopting standard process, trying to get your internal teams on board can be quite difficult. So how did you manage to get your internal teams in your business to actually embrace that method and that fit to standard model that you're talking about? Is there any secret sauce that you can spill with us today on that front?
Yeah, I guess the first point with that, which really did surprise me, when I'd made the decision that we weren't going to go a like for like, and I thought that the S/4HANA cloud out the box option was the best for us, we'd got to put fresh data in. So I went around all the key departments thinking, how do I spin this to them? How do I sell it to them that this is needed? And the attraction from in our particular case, from all the heavy duty users was that was a fantastic opportunity to get a clean, tidy system rather than bring over all the baggage from the old system. So that surprised me. So the first step was really positive. The second thing, we realized that if the risk to me was that I didn't get people to do the work, I didn't want to employ any additional staff. I wanted each department to be accountable for putting their own part of the S/4HANA in place. So finance, purchasing, warehouse, customer service, planning, all of those teams had got a range of individuals that were all totally different, and no way we're going to do anything for anybody else till they'd done their own bit first, just like any other company. So we decided that we'd integrate each of those teams direct into Birchman. And the thing for me, as like a people manager, if I could find a way where people couldn't hide or blame somebody else or say, I'm waiting for, the IT team to actually deliver this solution for me, it's not my problem, then to me, that was a fundamental. And so by getting each team to engage with Birchman and Birchman accepting that was a good way for us to implement the project in the time frame, we stumbled across, in hindsight, that's probably been one of our best decisions, because you take accounts, 4 people in accounts for us, 2 ledger people, 2 accountants. The ledger ladies have got time on their hands because they were quieter. The accountants are always too busy, whatever you ask them to do. So subsequently, we put all 4 of them in the team because we knew the two top finance guys probably wouldn't turn up to all the meetings, wouldn't sit there and do the work. And eventually at the last minute, they'd delegate it to the 2 ladies who could do the work. So we might as well bring the ladies who did the work straight in at the start, which made the two senior managers more accountable. So our, I guess, internal dynamics was, how do we manage the people to equal the plan? That's where we were probably most successful, because first of all, every department achieved on time. We didn't have to go and prop up any department because there was a bit of peer pressure. And most importantly, no place to hide.
Then that works relates right back to what Phil was saying around Industry 4.0. You know, when you've got issues around people saying it's not my problem, not my job, not my area, or you have to wait for somebody else to do that. I think in those kind of projects, doing what you did there is exactly how to do that. Bring the people who are actually going to do the work into those main workshops. Even with people delegating and things like that, it's still very valuable for those individuals to actually learn. And then in the end, they end up picking up the work anyway. Why not bring them into all those main sessions to begin with? So it's a good way of running a program, and obviously makes people feel part of it, doesn't it, as well? You bring them in at the beginning, they feel part of the program itself rather than coming in halfway through or at the end.
We had a really flat structure, and predominantly it was helped because all our previous SAP ECC support and programs was sitting in an office in Belgium that was no longer available to us. So we hadn't got any egos on the SAP. And equally, our IT team was just hardware and infrastructure. So they put their hands up and said, we don't want to be involved with SAP. It seems like too much like hard work. So by default, we had to find another solution, which in hindsight, we stopped all this additional red tape and going through gates that people would create just because they want to have control. That people management side of it, I think we ended up doing quite well by preempting where the problems would be.
That's really good. Yeah, thank you, Colin. And I guess sort of heading towards the end of our fireside chat, a couple more questions to go. You'll be glad to know. Don't want to grill you too much today, but like, what was sort of the overall business benefits you were hoping to get out of your SAP Public Cloud implementation? I mean, have you seen? There's obviously the benefits you were like trying to get, and the ones we've sort of visioned out to what we should achieve, and then the ones hopefully that you are achieving now and that you're seeing. And I know you've only been live for a short time, so sort of 6 months. But yeah, are you starting to see those benefits that you imagined out of this kind of system?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing for us, without sort of treading on SAP's toes too much, it's way cheaper for us to be doing S4 HANA Cloud than it was to be doing ECC. So that's a fundamental. Secondly, because we've gone cloud, we haven't had to worry about the servers or the interface or the money to buy them. So that again was like a commercial decision. Plus, our young IT team were dead keen to support the cloud. So from that point of view, we triggered the right buttons, which meant IT were engaged with us rather than thinking they'd just going to be dusting down servers every other week or the problems that go with it. And then as we've come to do the implementation, we've had a team probably for 4 months, 5 months across the workforce, probably giving about 25% of their work. So we never had to employ a single extra person. Okay, we paid Birchman to be our support team, our leaders in the project. And, once we knew that was a fixed bill, that was another clear business objective. We're not having to go back and do extra purchase orders or pay for this or pay for that. We've got the agreement on the fixed costs right up front. So we felt comfortable we're being supported properly rather than ripped off, with extra charges. Yeah. So that was good. And then we've not let so thinking of it chronologically, we've not let any customers down at all. So, we had some challenges in June and July, but it was seamless to the customer, which again, that could have cost us tens of thousands of pounds if we'd missed deliveries and got that wrong. So our operational side for implementing it was known facts, going to plan, and best value that we could see. Going forward, we feel that we'll be able to grow by a factor of 3 with all the current staff that currently interface or work on anything to do with SAP. So our plan over the next 3 or 4 years, if we're fortunate enough, is for Alfrecell to grow and expand, because we've got a lot of equipment and a lot of building and space to do that. But I think our current people and running costs for SAP will remain the same and will be 3 times bigger. So looking forward into that, And then, like Paul and Phil have touched on, there's so many things in what we call in phase 2 and phase 3 that we can be a cleverer, smarter business. So we can start looking at what best practice is for SAP, listen to what other people are doing, watch the YouTube videos, whatever it takes to motivate us to actually get us being a really efficient business. Because the only way we're going to grow is by being competitive. So to be competitive, I've got to reduce costs and offer best value on service and price. So how is SAP for HANA, cloud, public, going to help me grow the business by another 50, 60 million pounds a year? You know, that's what I'm expecting from it in the next couple of years. And I'm confident that we'll achieve that with it and with yourselves.
Thanks, Connie. I've got no doubt you'll achieve that. Yeah, you're doing some great things there. So I expect you to be that big, or if not bigger, I think, in the next couple of years. So I guess there's one final thing to take away for the audience that you would give some advice to them on about how to run these projects or what to do. You know, what piece of advice would you give to the audience as your sort of a closing comments, really?
I think I mentioned before that I'm not the computer expert, but I have to make the decision. So I've got to listen to people. I've got to understand it. I've got to feel comfortable with it. I think both SAP and Birchman made me feel that way. So picking a partner that allows the person who's making the decisions, or the team, if it's a team that's making the decisions, to me, we were fortunate that we had that. We picked a product that suited our circumstances. And I think in hindsight, having a clock that was ticking meant that we got no choice to get on with it. And I think in many cases, when I've talked to other people since, you know, computer projects notoriously, you know, might be but take 2 or 3. You know, it's the random comments you get. So once we got the plan equaled the time frame. We were really motivated because we had no choice. So our circumstance generated that. But that'd be a great. If I was doing it again, I'd try and invent that clock, because the business needs to get the computer out of the way and get on with developing the business. So I think the partner, the plan, the product, the time and the clock. If I was doing it again, I'd want all those things the same. The only thing I wouldn't do if I was doing it again would be waste 3 months or so thinking naively that ECC, move like for like, was the right answer. You know, I wasted my time and some of the clock by thinking that, but that's because I didn't know any better. That's, you know, probably what I'd do the same again, I think. That's great. Thank you, Connie. Yeah, some really insightful feedback there for everybody. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think a lot of those comments will resonate with people who've done projects in the past, for sure. I know a lot of that. And yeah, it's one of those things that until you actually go through the experience and you actually, you know, you go there and do it yourselves, you know, it's one of those things that you always look back, and it's great to have hindsight, isn't it? But obviously you've got that experience for the future anyway, for yourself as a business. That's great. Thank you very much for that, Colin. I appreciate the feedback and the candor there on those. And I guess, yes, we've left a bit of time for Colin and Phil and Paul, our 3 speakers today. If anyone's got any questions at all they want to ask them live on the webinar, then obviously we've left a bit of time now for that. I know that I've seen some of the chat coming through of people saying thanks to you, Colin, for your good insights and things. And obviously, yeah, you're sort of like how you're changing from a traditional manufacturer to a smart manufacturer, which is good comments there coming in from Bruno. But yeah, so if anybody's got any sort of questions they want to ask of the guys, then please shout out now. I think everyone's unmuted, aren't they, on the call? So you can just unmute yourself and ask. If not, don't be scared. It's not an issue if you don't want to ask now. We can you can always message us or do it on the chat if you like.
I was just going to add to what Colin said there about the projects and the timelines and things. And I think one of the reasons it was so successful was everybody in the business, and from Colin down, were pushing to get it done. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was supported. It was, but everybody wanted it to succeed. And I think it's one of those things that, like, being easy to work with is a powerful skill. And everybody involved in the project, there was no naysayers or didn't seem like it. You know what I mean? Everybody was like, let's get it, let's make it work, let's make it a success. And it was fully, you know, engaged and supported. And I think that was one of the key factors. You know, from top down, it was, this is the path, this is the roadmap, this is what we're doing, get on board. And I think that was a big factor in it.
But obviously, Phil, John Riley here, that was
Hi, John.
supported by the fact that you guys had to get off your ECC system, so it wasn't as if there was going to be more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So well done with that. You did a good job.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. There was a lot of driving factors, but yeah, no, it was, everybody got on board, and would have been trouble if they didn't, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, not much choice, I guess, but they, you know, it could have gone off the rails easily, but it didn't, which was good. We kept it under control and got it live and successful. Yeah, I mean, time was a factor, but sometimes I've seen it where even when time is a factor, you know, things can still go adrift if they're not controlled properly and they're not managed properly by the sponsorship and the executive team. So that's a key thing that Colin had to obviously, you know, provide to his organisation, which he did very successfully.
Just
so it's
one
great.
other question for Colin. Have you guys got any dedicated in-house SAP resource?
At the start, no, but I've now got 4 people who have got normal day-to-day jobs, who have all worked hard to reduce them by 50% so that they can all be part of a team going forward into early part of next year to do what we call phase 2, to work out how the S/4HANA can make us a better business. So I've got a warehouse lady, I've got a production planning guy, I've got a purchasing person, and I've got one person off the production manufacturing on the shop floor. So because we've advertised it in our little newsletter internally, we've now got these people who know the business, and the key thing was going to be to get them to know how to learn about the SAP. So we've gone about it the other way. We've said, let's get people who know the business and let's show them what SAP can do, rather than be a SAP person coming in to tell us how to do the business.
So how did you succeed in, and it's obviously an ongoing process, to upskill those guys to be able to facilitate?
I mean, first of all, we've had free training, I guess, because they were all part of the implementation plan from January to June. So you realise you get this double whammy of being involved in the project. It delivers the project, but you've also awakened a lot of people, give them more skills, made them realise it's not a black art, that, you know, you can either use the help, you can use Birchman, you can go to SAP. You know, you can't do everything, but there's a lot that you can do. And being part of the implementation project, these people saw that.
Yeah, interesting. And the other thing, just on top of that, I presume they'd take an interest in the half-yearly upgrades from SAP as well, in terms of the new functionality. And
yeah, I mean, I for my sins, I'm the person who gets the emails from SAP saying all these things are going to happen on a Saturday night, and I'm thinking I'll worry about that on maybe Sunday afternoon and check I've had the second email that says it's okay. So to be fair, we've still got a lot to learn, you know, on how we do it, but it's a journey that we're all looking forward to, if that makes sense.
Rather than look with us, you've done well so far. I think you'll succeed. Good man.
It's little things like all of the user groups as well that we've started signing up for. So we went to a Birchman user forum back in October. We've got the one next week in Birmingham. All those sorts of things. It's opened our eyes on to those more.
Good, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Thanks, Marco.
Thank you for that bit of promo. Yeah, the user forums are every quarter. So yeah, again, I can share some information around those too, for those that don't know about it.
Awesome.
I think that's like you said there. I think people, some certain people, just click with SAP, and it just not becomes easy, but opportunity, and you think, yeah, because I was that person once. I was, literally in Marco's seat in manufacturing, and SAP came to where I work, and it was like, yeah, that's something that I think I'd be in. So yeah, it is one of those things where certain people, if you give them the opportunity to get deep into it, they will. And then you'll probably know who those people are. Every business on here probably knows who those people are going to be, because they're the people who are. It's almost like the people you can afford to lose from the business the least are the ones that you need to get involved. That learning opportunity, and they're the people that are involved in everything and know what's going on. So they're the ones that are able to help you design the system that's going to run your business and then run it. And everything that happens in your business is going to happen through SAP. So get the right people involved, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, consider it better. Definitely the right way to do it. And like Colin says, in the cloud world, they don't have to be full time. Like in traditional ECC and other ERP projects in the past, you had to have full-time people on these programs. Now they can be part-time, which is a big change to how these projects are deployed, which a lot of customers are finding a lot easier to have resources who can still do some of their day job and do the projects at the same time, which is a big difference to how it used to be. Sort of, not even sort of 4 or 5 years ago when they were doing these projects. I've gone in front of many customers where I've told them have to have full-time resources, and lots of MDs and CEOs like Colin who have sort of looked at me blankly thinking, I just can't do that. But that's not the case anymore. You can still have a life outside of the project at the same time, which has made a big difference to these programs as well, for sure. That's great. I mean, we're coming to a close of the webinar. If there's any other questions, then please shout out now for any of the presenters or guests. Otherwise, I can start to draw the webinar to a close, if that's the case. I mean, thanks for everyone's time today as well. It's been really insightful from all the presenters. So thanks for their time. And and hopefully we'll see you again on the next Birchman webinar, which I believe is about AI in January. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. Speak to you soon.